Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Wallace. I'm a partner at Tallwave. We're a customer experience design company, and I am pleased to and honored to be the host of our fourth installment of the new interview series that we're putting on called The Innovators. I'm really happy to have a conversation today with Michelle Horowitz. She was named one of Brand Innovator's top 100 women in brand marketing. And she's a visionary in e-commerce marketing and leader with experience in a variety of industries, B2C and B2B. She built high-performing teams and is really customer obsessed throughout her whole career in marketing and communications. And now she is the Senior Vice President and Head of Marketing and Communication at Blink Fitness, which is a premium and affordable fitness brand that challenges conventional fitness stereotypes. And she's responsible for leading the brand and digital evolution of the company through innovation and movement. So obviously that is a timely industry that you're in, and we've all gone through a tough year, and an interesting year. So welcome, first of all, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time. I just went through the standard bio of you, but I'd love to hear in your words a little bit more about your professional journey. And then also you've been through sales and marketing and whatnot. So I'd love to just hear really briefly about your career and your journey and how you landed where you are.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Robert. I'm super excited to be here, and it's an honor to have this conversation with you. So thank you for having me. I took a circuitous route to be where I am today. And where I am today is, completely passionate about the health and wellness industry, and obviously the impact that fitness can make. It's never been more apparent than right now about how important it is for us to stay well. And certainly, it's not just the physical impact of what we've been going through, also it's the mental impact. So to be with a brand that, that is really the ethos of what we do is super exciting. Previous to this, I spent some time in the fashion and then retail specialty area, and particularly in lifestyle. So super proud of the work that I've done during that time. And it really was all about customer centricity as we, built and developed the Loft brand and expanded beyond the US borders into Mexico and to Canada. And then I was part of the team that created the Lou and Grey brand, which was really the first foray from a specialty retail perspective that moved into lifestyle. So it was a big, bold step that the brand took prior to being acquired, and was part of the growth from a D2C brand into, 12 stores. So that's been the majority of sort of my CMO experience, has been leading in the fashion space, but always with an eye to customer centricity and the impact that a brand can have on its consumer base.
Yeah, definitely. And how would you say, let's see, how would you say you've segued that customer and member first mentality, so to speak, in your new role at Blink?
So I think it really speaks to, a marketer's responsibility of the customer journey and thinking about it from, the moment of acquisition through to retention, and then obviously loyalty. So to put the consumer at the center of it all, from, identifying the issues that come through customer service, and then being able to be really thoughtful about how we treat our customers and how we have that sort of member first mentality. But I would say that, sort of stepping back as we sort of hopefully are through that gateway of the end of the pandemic, that we really pivoted quite quickly at the beginning of the experience, which is more than a year ago, where we had to close down the business and had to really think about how important it was for not only our employees, but also our consumer base, to keep them actively engaged and to put their health and wellness first. So we were very fortunate that we actually have an app, a fantastic app that was created in 2019 that sort of has three functional areas. One is obviously about the capability to have those access to classes where we partner with a lot of brands, but also create our own content. And then we have nutrition and rejuvenation. So to be able to sort of engage fully behind that and share it with the community and really open it up, because at the time it was only one membership that had access. So we opened it up to everybody. And then as an engagement vehicle, we actually worked very closely with our personal trainers to create our own content. So we began to host live stream content every day that really allowed people to put their health and wellness in, as we sort of transition to working at home. And so that was, another example of how we did it. And now as we sort of come out of this pandemic, or we're traveling, through hopefully the tail end of it, as we reopened the gyms, we actually again used the app as a vehicle to help people feel more comfortable coming back to the gym. And obviously health and wellness was the priority for our employees, our communities, and the members that we serve by, following all of CDC guidelines, as well as local guidelines. But in addition to that, we wanted to use the app as a vehicle to help make it easier for everybody. So we had that frictionless entrance where, they didn't have to touch or engage with anything. They could use their app. But in advance of even doing that, they could actually, and they still can, reserve their space in the gym, look at capacity. And if they're not ready to come back to the gym, which some people are not yet ready, they could actually currently now take personal training classes through the app. So we, we're constantly trying to think about, this consumer experience. And I think probably, a natural sort of evolution of this is how are we going to continue to marry the digital world with the in-gym experience, which I think, until we find stasis, is definitely I would imagine that people sort of live in both of those worlds.
It's interesting because it sounds like to me that it even boils down to or what has happened is it's almost what does Blink Fitness really stand for, meaning what business is it really in, and the delivery mechanism has changed, right? And so it has forced you to think about, oh, we're about accessibility and democratization of really high-end health and wellness and fitness, and that used to be delivered through the gym. And now when the gym goes away, at least partially goes away, or has fundamentally changed, how else are we going to fulfill our brand promise, while they can't get to that particular uh, delivery vehicle? And it's really interesting how you've thought about that and broadened your perspective. And I think the only way you can do that is by putting the customer first, putting the member.
Yeah. And I think even as people sort of flex and figure out what it all looks like, the nice thing about it is, if you do, coming into the gym and enjoying, whether it's the weights or the elliptical or whatever the machines are that you choose, or even the stretch area, you might not have time, or you might have, doing it in between appointments or whatever. You can always go home and continue that journey, whether it's doing a yoga class or a meditation class, or more stretching it from home. So I think in similar to how people feel about the e-commerce experience, they want it to be there when they want it to be there. And I think that the app is definitely a vehicle that gives our members what they're looking for.
That's a fascinating idea too. The idea of a 360-degree brand is one that has come up, and it came up in my footwear experience, and you probably saw it too, where and I'm dating myself here, but there was a time when you started selling online or selling catalog or selling whatever channel was new, there was this fear that you would be cannibalizing your existing channel. And that never happened, because it really just made it a 360-degree brand. I can buy whatever it is I want to buy whenever and however I want. I can do it on my phone. I can do it online. I can order through the catalog if you still want to do that, or I can go into the store. So it's fascinating that fitness is going through that same thing.
Yeah. And interesting too, like I remember too from my retail days, right? It's like that haptic social community feeling that you get when you're walking through a retail store, or, you might have the urge or that window of time that you're able to do it sort of, from at home through the digital experience. So I think there's some similarities there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. How do you, have you found it, there's an emotional connection that I think that you touch on, whether in some cases from actually shopping, but certainly I think a lot of gyms you have an emotional connection. How do you cultivate that? First of all, in general, how do you think about cultivating connections with your members? But then, how have you thought about how has that changed online, or how have you had to evolve that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's a very community focused brand, right? Like when we come into the community, we are committed to the community and the local members, and we think a lot about local. When we first come in from a gym, setting up the gym, we partner with a lot of nonprofits. We, work very closely with local government to really engage and let them know that we're here and we want them to come in and be part of that community. We have what we call the people that work in the gym, we call them mood lifters, and they really set the tone and the feeling for coming into the gym. We want people to come in and feel like they're part of something, with the music sets the tone, and the friendliness of the mood lifters and the personal trainers really create that local community touch point. And often people, obviously establish relationships, whether it's with their trainers, their mood lifters, or their local managers. So that really in and of itself was what the ethos of the brand that was built. And when we went through COVID and started to create those live stream, we really began to allow the personal trainers, when they taught the daily classes, their personalities, their excitement for their brand and for health and wellness really shone through. And we actually included the capability for people to ask questions and engage, whether it was during the workout or after the workout, so we could really create that continuity. Obviously in the digital world it becomes a little bit more difficult, but in the same way that we want to help people curate or navigate their fitness IQ, we see that as a lot of potential in the digital world to sort of continue people on their journeys in the digital world. So I think part of it is the content that we provide on the app, by curating from the nutritional, from the rejuvenation, and then from the classes, and the partners that we've chosen, whether it's Daily Burn or Sworkit or Active. Like, it's been very thought through. I think of course there's tons of opportunity to continue to personalize that experience and really think of that journey, but we look at one as being an extension of the other. So
Yeah, fascinating. When I think about personalization, I invariably get to the data issue or the data situation. So, um, how are you thinking about data, the collection of data? We may soon be in a cookieless world, or
yes.
at least some cookieless data. Um, how does Blink think about this? How do you think about it? And how are you using it to, if you can build out a little bit and tell us a little bit more about the personalized experience that you touched on?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And, obviously from a brand perspective, it's a member first mentality, right? So, and it's a value exchange. By understanding more, particularly, it becomes a lot easier, obviously, in the digital world through the app, to understand what content appeals to people, where their interests lie, and we can begin to really curate that out. So for us, it's all about making the experience, constantly evolving the experience to make it better. So being really thoughtful in the data sense. From a marketing perspective, obviously, in addition to obviously focusing on the member experience, we have to be very attuned to the applicable laws, legislations, and I think an changing landscape. At the beginning of the week, I was listening to Kara Swisher's podcast, Sway, from the New York Times, and she was interviewing Tim Cook. And Tim believes that privacy is at the forefront of, kind of like what things are going to be about, and certainly from Apple's perspective, they're introducing the ATT, the ability for people to choose their privacy settings. So I think it's still an interesting time, and obviously one that there's many different things happening at many different levels. From the policy perspective, obviously around Section 230, and there are some, Amy Klobuchar is very involved with the making refinements, I think she's calling it, with the Safe Tech Act. You have Virginia announcing that they're going to be doing very similar to what California did with the CCPA, that they've now, adopted their version of that. And I think from what I heard, there's another 8 states sort of following suit. So, a brand has a responsibility to align with and be aware of that. And then in addition to that, you also have the platforms, right? Like, Facebook has a lot of responses to Apple, and there's a lot of activity. So I look from a marketing perspective at, the importance of sort of staying on top of it and putting, member privacy at the forefront is what we, are obviously looking at, and stay in tune to. But there's so much going on that from a marketing perspective, we work very much in line with obviously our legal department and technology, to sort of make everything align. So needless to say, I guess there's a lot going on, Robert.
The ground is shifting too. I mean, what you just spoke about is going to be different, maybe even by Monday.
Yes.
and every day you see that there's new legislation or just new technology, and how the companies are all of them are reacting to it, and it makes its way. I think to me, the brands that at least make it first and foremost, hey, we're paying attention, and we're doing our best to put you, the member, first.
Yes.
Even
100%.
even if you don't, that starts to build enough of a trust factor that, hey, we may not keep up with every single thing, but we're trying, and you're first. So you, the member, are first. And I think that's critically important for most brands to think about, because it's not necessarily possible to keep pace with everything.
Yeah, but I think it's our responsibility too, as
No
brands,
doubt.
to do that. But I think it also speaks to, the agility and the team cross-channel partnership, that not cross-functional partnership that takes place now, certainly through this time. It's definitely, we're in it together and navigating through it. So
Yeah, for sure. Have you so when you look at the true customer journey, that's not a marketing thing, that's not a product thing, that's not a operations thing. It's all of those things, and service. It's everything. The customer doesn't, or the member in your case, doesn't much care what department or silo.
exactly, 100%. I love that you say that. I mean, we work so closely together. The head of operations, I do. We all work so closely together to create this member first experience. And and like you said, it's like an evolution, or Simon Sinek talks about the infinite game. It just, it's this constant, doing it better, and putting the member first. So.
And it's I think organizations are being forced, especially during COVID, because a customer became front and center, whether you wanted them to, whether you thought about it or not. And it forced I think, a lot of companies to think about, how are our departments interacting with one another, and how are those interactions even touching the customer, and how do we need to maybe be more agile?
Yes, I love that you said that. I was just going to say, like, I think these key words came out of the pandemic, right? Like the acceleration of behavior or technology, resiliency, agility, and obviously from a leadership perspective, empathy, is at the cornerstone, which I think has only made us like better and stronger as individuals and teams. So I agree with you. Like, I think those are some of the key words that are definitely coming out of this moment in time.
And then ultimately, that's a good thing. So there's some silver lining.
For sure.
I think it's all good. So we're almost at time, but if we cast our vision forward a little bit, what do you see in terms of the fitness industry, or technology, or any trends, or any combination of the three? What do you see out there in the market? Where do you see things going?
Yeah, I think, just sort of touching back to what we started talking about, I really do believe it's this, constant continuation of the member experience, and what does it mean to offer that member experience. And, from a technology point of view, from a people point of view, like, bringing that all together and continuing to deliver that. And I think it's, about understanding about this moment, I guess, of stasis, of when, the technology or the digital world and the four walls sort of live together, and what does that look like. So I feel like we're on a journey that, obviously was accelerated by COVID for sure. And I don't think we're the only industry. Obviously, there's many that we can point to that have been on this sort of acceleration and but again, a lot of the behaviors that you're talking about and that we've sort of touched on, the agility, the resiliency, obviously the cross-functional partnership will be key in this experience. But I think our North Star really is thinking about, the member first and that member experience. So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I've been fortunate enough to have a few conversations with you, and each one is awesome, and each one the time sneaks up on us.
Yeah.
We could keep on going for a while, but I do want to thank you again for taking the time. This has been wonderful. I know our audience is going to appreciate it and learn a lot from it. And I just, is there anything that is there a URL for Blink Fitness that anyone should check out? Just blinkfitness.com.
Blinkfitness.com for sure. And right now we actually are allowing people to download the app for 60 days for trial, no matter where they live. So I welcome anybody that would be interested. You can just go to our website and download the app or to the app, to the app store and be able to download it that way. So.
Excellent. So everyone go do that. Go download.
Stay healthy, stay well, right?
Yeah, everyone stay fit and stay well. That's exactly right. This will help you do that. So I'll do that when I hang up here. But thanks again.
Thank you.
It's really been a lot of fun, and I will be talking to you soon.
Yeah, I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.